What is the creepiest thing you have seen in the woods or elsewhere? I was driving through rural parts of Missouri with a buddy. We drove down a single-lane road that had no exit. At the end of the road, there was a group of deer corpses, lying in a perfect circle. I would say there were at least 10 deer. We left that place really quickly. Found a deer with its hind end eaten up. A few feet away was a coyote with the hind end eaten up. Then another few feet away a fox with its hind end eaten up. Nothing else was there. No bullet holes or signs of an arrow or anything else. Couldn't find any tracks from other people or animals. It was pretty creepy. Found in the hills of West Virginia. I have been at football training with a few of my cousins when I was about 10 years old. We decided to take a walk before our parents picked us up, so we went along the canal towpath. My cousin looked down in the canal and saw a really nice jacket floating along, and being a weird scavenger person, decided to reach in to fish it out. Well, the jacket turned over, and so did the man wearing it. He also had no face left. Not gonna lie, that was rough. Was this in the UK? And if so, I'm guessing Manchester. Not far off, Huddersfield. Thought it would be Northish England. I'm morbidly interested in this stuff, and we have so many bodies washing up in our canals. It's usually attributed to students drinking too close to water, but there are just so many. I was pretty sure I was going to be the nameless victim at the start of a horror movie to show how dangerous the monster is. Basically, my dad and I were walking through the woods when we came across a young moose leg lying on the ground. It looked like it had been violently torn off with no sign of the rest of the moose anywhere. It was fresh with blood still on the wound, probably no more than a couple of hours old. My dad is a pretty skilled hunter, so he handed me his axe that he was carrying and told me to watch for wolves while he started looking for tracks. After a little bit, he came back saying, "That's weird. Normally, if it were wolves, you would be able to find paw prints, but I can't see any. Also, no bear prints, so I have no idea what killed this." And so I'm like, "You didn't find any tracks at all?" And his very reassuring response was, "Well, I did find what appears to be the mama moose tracks headed this way," showing me the tracks. "You can see how her stride is a lot longer here. Whatever killed her baby, she didn't want to fight it. She just took off running." He then pulls out his bear spray and holds it at the ready as we keep walking deeper into the woods with the unnamed, non-track living predator armed with bear spray and an axe. My boyfriend and I were walking through the woods on a nature trail when we came across a piece of alligator tail and foot that had been ripped off, and the rest of the body was gone. I freaked out. All I kept thinking was I have no idea what's big enough to kill and eat an entire alligator, but I don't want to meet it. We cautiously kept walking, and a few hundred feet later saw a giant, probably 10 feet at least, alligator walking along the shoreline with a whole smaller dead alligator in its mouth. And that was the day I learned that alligators were cannibals. I work as an autopsy technician. It's pretty regular happening and doesn't faze me now, but the first time I heard a remains exhale moan was pretty creepy. I'm a funeral director, and the first time I heard this, I damn near quit. My boss told me it was just him saying I was doing a good job. I was mountain biking in the woods, and I came across an East Asian looking man in a perfectly fitted suit and a briefcase, just casually walking through the woods. I had a similar experience. My husband and I were hiking up a mountain in the Pacific Northwest. It's perpetually muddy due to a large number of waterfalls along the sides of the trail, so there is no way you can avoid getting at least a little dirty. Around an hour and a half up the trail, we passed two men wearing black suits, black hats, black glasses, holding black leather briefcases. and wearing black dress shoes, completely clean and dress shoes, and immaculately clean pressed pants, not a spot of dirt or wrinkle on either of their clothes. As we passed each other, one of them whispered something in German. I looked back at them, and they were both standing still and looking back at us, staring. It was all so surreal. Cowlitz River, Washington State, camping with my dad and sister, my buddies, early 90s. Something was throwing rocks and sticks into our camp. We shined a flashlight out and caught a reflection of eyes and a silhouette. Very, very tall. Kept throwing stuff in our camp randomly for about 15 minutes. We just stoked the fire really high. In the morning, I woke up to heavy footsteps in our camp and something reeked. Woke up my dad. He shook the tent and yelled. Whatever it was, ran off. Human retinas don't reflect light back at night. That's a fun little fact I like sharing around the campfire. I was a cook on board of several research ships. Up in the Bering Sea, I saw what appeared to be a massive black triangular-shaped craft dive under the water. I viewed it from a distance of maybe 2 nautical miles. This was quite a few years ago now, but my friend and I had this really cool spot to hang out in the woods. You had to walk in the middle of a creek for kilometers and dug through sharp bushes and thistles. The hike was well rewarding though. The spot was about half an acre big. It was pure green grass on an incline with beautiful clear water ponds everywhere. There were tons of wildlife and the butterflies lived there. So there were always tons of butterflies. So the story begins on the way to this place. My friend Levi and I were walking along the river on the way to the spot. It was in the middle of a valley and nobody else ever went down there. Suddenly, Levi stopped moving and ducked into a bush. I did the same because I thought there must have been a large animal somewhere. I saw him staring up the hill and so I looked up too. 2 people were standing at the top of the hill, having back and forth a lifeless body. We watched as they threw the lifeless corpse down the hill as it bounced off the trees and eventually got stuck in a tree at the bottom. Then they took off. My friend and I were terrified, and I was shaking so badly I couldn't speak, so we decided to verify it was a real body. Levi got about 4 feet away before screaming, "It has nostrils! It's real! Run!" So, of course, we take off running, and I glance back to see the 2 people run back to the top of the hill. We ran 2 kilometers through thick brush and trees to get away from them. The next day, we were with his parents driving to town, and we saw like 10 fire trucks at the school closest to the forest. Terrified, we told his parents, bawling our eyes out, worried that we were going to get murdered. His mom started laughing at us and said, "They are training for search and rescue. That was a dummy that the firemen had to find." I never slept as good as I did that night. My friend and I were chilling in the woods one day back in high school and saw a dog walking by, later followed by a kid. He looked troubled, so we asked if he needed help. He obliged, telling us he was dog sitting for his friend and the dog got loose. So we spent a good hour following this dog and kid around, going deeper and deeper into the woods. Eventually, I finally got the dog to come to me, but it wasn't wearing a collar, so I wasn't able to get hold. My friend and I looked away for just a few seconds to discuss strategy, and when we turned back around, the boy and the dog are both gone. It was like they completely vanished. Keep in mind it was autumn, so any footsteps could be heard from quite far, but it was just silent. Not a single trace of them anywhere. Still don't really know what happened. Maybe they ran away really quickly, who knows? It was definitely enough to creep us out. That was the last story in this video. Hear you in the next one. Keep your common sense. Bye.